Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Conversations with the Writer. I am Kristen, a clerk here at McGowan County Public Library, and I am here with my regular co-host, the fabulous Tammy Blackwell, a best-selling author and director of Marshall County Public Library. And we have with us a pretty regular guest star that we really enjoy, a familiar face to us all, Calvert City branch manager, Sarah McGowan. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us today. I just love having you here. I miss you.
I love to be back.
Today we're gonna do a little deviation. We're not necessarily gonna talk about books. I know you're just really concerned right now. We're gonna talk about rom-coms, romantic comedy movies, and we're gonna give you some of our favorites. We're gonna talk a little bit about what makes a rom-com, what doesn't make a rom-com, and yes, because we do love books, suggestions toward the end of rom-commy like books. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna ask you, ladies, what is your favorite rom-com? The one that you have watched so many times, you quote large sections of the dialogue, the one that if someone tells you they haven't seen it, you find it personally offensive.
For me, it's one that I've talked about here before, and that's The Cutting Edge, which is about ice skating, and I say toe pick more than anyone who's never been on ice skates should. And Ligano, Illigano is gray area is probably my favorite quote ever. So that's my top rom-com.
And I did say once I had not seen it and you were offended. So
Yep.
Sarah, what about you?
So y'all have to tell me if you think this counts. I feel like there's a lot of gray area in
There
this,
is.
and if certain things count. And so this isn't maybe a classic one, but Dirty Dancing is probably my favorite one. To me, it's romantic and it's light, although it's not ha-ha funny.
Yeah,
so do we
it
think
has some funny.
Do you think a romantic comedy has to be like ha-ha funny? Or just amusing?
I think we'll get back to that.
Okay.
I would have put Dirty Dancing more as a music. Well, no, it's not really a musical. I think rom-com's correct.
Or maybe just straight romance. But they don't end up together at the end. Like, to me, it was a happily ever after moment. Because it would have been weird. She was like 17. It wasn't that kind of
They're not going to run off together.
Yeah, and they're not going to get married. Yeah. But my other one, though, was Clueless, which I love.
I do too.
But is it romantic?
And we're going to talk about that because that's
But
also on
Is it
my
one of
list
yours?
as
Okay.
whether or not it's a rom-com or not. When we get into that discussion, that's on my list.
So those
Clueless.
are like my two favorites probably, and I don't know if either one of them counts. And yes, I obviously came of age in the 90s.
Yeah. There is nothing wrong with coming of age in the 90s.
Late Gen Xers are
Yes.
representing here.
Yeah.
My favorite is You've Got Mail.
Okay.
Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan. It was a kind of like a follow-up to them in Sleepless in Seattle. Not necessarily, but the same, put them back together and let's see if we can make magic. Like they did with Runaway Bride with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts years after Pretty Woman. What I like, first of all, that cast is killer. You got Tom, you got Meg Ryan. Dave Chappelle's a supporting.
Really?
You've got Dabney Coleman is a supporting. You've got Greg Kinnear and Parker Posey at their quirkiest. Gene Stapleton pops in. Like, you got Edith Bunker, for Pete's sake. Fantastic cast. It's a great storyline. And it's honestly, if you told me either A, you hadn't seen it, or B, didn't like it, I would be...
But I should watch it.
Yes.
Sarah?
Right. Which one? You've Got Mail. Okay.
You've Got Mail.
I'm on
You
it.
should watch it. It is so...
It's about a
It's so good.
Oh,
you need it.
Yeah, book around the corner. Shop around the corner. It's so good. It's so great. Let's get into a little of your questions, really, for Dirty Dancing, Clueless. Are they rom-coms? Do we expect rom-coms to have more, there's something I actually wrote down, more rom than com? Or do we, how do we determine it's a rom-com? What do you guys think?
Like,
what is your barrier?
Do you think Knocked Up is a rom-com? It's a more com than
I
rom.
think it's more of a comedy.
I love that
because
movie,
I
but I don't think of it as
think there's a
romantic.
romance. There's no romance in it.
I think they're cute together, but it's not swoony.
It's not swoony.
To me, I need a little
and basically,
swoony.
he just quote unquote he knocked her up. I don't.
Seth Rogen, call
That's
me.
you and your Seth Rogen. We're not going to get into that
Swooning.
today. Seth Rogen is not.
Swoony. Thank you.
We're not going to have this argument today, Sarah.
It's always the time and place.
Although I have the same problem with Miles Teller in that I find him unbelievably compelling, and I have no idea why.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like, I watched the Top Gun Maverick.
Ooh, I want to see that.
Yeah, we should see that. The trailer, and he walked on screen. I was like, and I'm like, okay, he's not even that attractive. I don't know what my deal is. So I'll give you Seth Rogen because I have a
people
Miles.
just got a thing.
I have a Miles Teller thing, and I can't explain
Some
it.
people just got a thing. They should be in all the movies.
I will hear that. But yeah, it's not. Knocked Up is more calm. I don't see the swoony romance. And is that what we want, Tammy? If we're doing rom-coms?
So for me, like when I was looking at the list of things they had listed as a rom-com, I was very quickly going, not that, not that, not that. Because I think if there's not a happily ever after, it's not a romance. And that comes from the book world. But I want that also in my movies. If they don't end up together, so your 500 Days of Summer is not a rom-com.
Yeah.
And then I do want it to be actual funny, and
not
to me,
just
that's
amusing.
the difference. One of the big differences between a rom-com movie and a rom-com book is your rom-com movies have a lot of more physical comedy, a lot more of those literal
like a
laugh.
screwball kind of.
Well, and a laugh out loud moment.
Yes, I'll say that.
So I almost picked a different favorite rom-com, but in my head, rom-coms are also set in modern times.
Really?
Oh,
Because
okay.
The Princess Bride comes up all the time on lists of
Always.
rom-coms.
Yeah.
Princess Bride is the best movie to have ever been made, period. That's it. But I don't know that I would consider it a rom-com because it's not.
So you don't
set in
think Pride and
contemporary.
Prejudice is a rom-com?
I don't.
You think it's a romance?
Yeah, it's a romance. It's
Okay.
a historical romance.
Okay.
And I think
okay. I see the
maybe
distinction
for
you're
me, it's because my brain categorizes them how we would
a book.
a book. So there's a lot of historical romances that are funny and are very rom-comish. If you read Tessa Dare, I laugh out loud reading those books, but to me, they're still just historical romances with funny elements. Whereas to be a rom-com, it has to be set in modern times. Just for me. That's my definition.
I can see that, yeah. Because I feel like the com part, a lot of that's what makes it funny, that it's something you can instantly relate to because it's something that's happened to you or a friend or something you've seen, and that's kind of what makes it funny.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
There's something about Mary, like, obviously that's no longer modern. Again, we're all late Gen Xers here,
Yeah.
but, like, that movie was, like, laugh until you hurt yourself funny, but it was also a romance, and...
So is that to you a rom-com? You
Yeah,
guys think?
I would classify There's Something About Mary as a rom-com.
That is a cute movie.
I'm going to agree with you even though I've never seen that movie.
I don't know if it's aged well, but it is.
Yeah, we're all making really painful admissions here today.
I'm so sorry I haven't seen that movie.
Think of something newer.
But Clueless is that, first of all, I don't necessarily think of this as a rom-com because the best romance is between the teachers, and they're not part of the.
Been a great movie.
They're not the main focus of the movie, and do teen movies, and that is definitely a teen movie. Can they be rom-coms, or are they relegated to teen movies? When I mentioned to my coworker Nick, shout out to Nick, I asked him. I've been asking people for weeks now, what's your favorite rom-com? And the first thing came out of his mouth was 10 Things I Hate About You, because he loves that movie. And I was like, is that a rom-com or a teen movie? And he got very upset with me. And there was a long discussion, and I won't go into that. But the question still, an answer. Do we, like Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink, that's probably a little bit before your time. But it was around. But but are they rom-coms, or?
I mean,
are they just coms or are they teen movies? Are they coms with some rom?
I think they're teen rom-coms. And again,
okay,
I think things too much in book perspective.
Right.
But we have adult romance novels and we have YA romance novels.
For a reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
And probably I prefer teen rom-coms to the adult ones because I can forgive teenagers a little bit more
I feel like teen rom-coms are more dreamy.
They are.
Than adult
10 Things I
rom-coms.
Hate About You is super dreamy.
You're just thinking about Heath Ledger.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, and I mean, I love all of those late 90s teen rom-coms.
Oh my
like
gosh.
She's All That,
She's All That.
and
Anything
Drive
Paul
Me
Walker was
Crazy,
in.
and
Yeah.
or Freddie Prinze Jr. Like,
Yes,
no, like
yes.
I love those things, and I think Clueless probably started that off, and like that's one of my favorite movies of all
I do
time.
love Clueless. I've watched Clueless so many times.
So my issue with the teen being a rom-com, and like you were saying, like to you, a rom-com has very specific parameters, and in my head, it ends in a wedding, which is creepy if you're talking about a teen. Like to me,
Yeah.
Happily Ever After, like, is not a good fit with a teen.
No, I will agree with that.
With a book, you say that it's
Happy
happily
for
ever
now.
after or happily for now.
Yeah.
And so with the teen movies, that's it. They're happily for now. And I don't know. Because at the end, they end with a kiss and usually. And
that's enough, you
And
think?
that's enough
Yeah.
to be like, oh, they got together.
But like, oh, it's college and we're going off to college. This was such a great experience. Like, I like that kind of ending. That's the Dirty Dancing
Gotcha.
ending. It's
Yeah.
not we're together happily ever after, but it's like we had this, vital experience that when I'm 40, I'll remember, my first love and stuff like that. But I am less like into the genre as particulars because I don't read a lot of romance books, so that kind of ending to me is a happily ever after, but I don't think it really counts as a rom-com.
I feel like and a lot of this is based on the book world. Me and Tammy love our romance novels. With Dirty Dancing, her point wasn't to find romance, though.
Nope.
It was just to have a summer, and she met this guy that she thought was hot, and Patrick Swayze was, and it's the same thing with Legally Blonde, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. People will try to say it's a rom-com. It's a comedy, and the only thing Elle learned was that sometimes men aren't crap, you need to do it yourself. Which takes the romance out of it.
Bridesmaids, is that?
Bridesmaids is a comedy.
Do you think, if a woman is the subject of it, it has to be a rom-com? You know what I mean?
I think if the woman is the subject, Hollywood will make it a rom-com.
That's what I'm kind of getting at.
They
I
will
don't think we would
categorize it as a
think
rom-com.
of those movies as rom-coms
because
it was
you could
focused on a man.
Like they could have Pineapple Express and it just be a comedy. Bridesmaids has to be a rom-com because there's a woman in it.
Yes.
Are there raunchy female comedies?
There should be.
That are just comedies and
More.
don't have a love
More of them.
story slapped in the middle of it.
I can't think of any.
Nothing's coming to mind that they wouldn't, like maybe Miss Congeniality, but they slapped a love story in it. But Benjamin Bright's very hot, so good for her. But I mean, I was going to say Sandra Bullock, but all of her movies involve love at some level.
Yes.
Julia Roberts. Now, My Best Friend's Wedding. They're constantly trying to tell me that's a rom-com, which is BS. It's not. It's a comedy, but they won't label it as such.
Because it's about love.
Because there's some love in it, and Julia Roberts starring in it, and how dare we put her in a movie that we don't call a rom-com. That's not a drama. You can do drama. She can do drama or rom-com. She can't do both. Can't do both.
She can try to get an Oscar or make a rom-com.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, this is very interesting to think on, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I've seen tons of movies, and my mind is just like a gerbil on a wheel right now, trying to think of just a comedy. I guess that one movie. Oh shoot, with Cameron Diaz and Selma Blair, and
Where they go to Vegas?
Sweetest Thing? The Sweetest Thing. Would you consider that like a comedy? I've never seen it, but you consider
been a long
that
time.
like a raunchy female comedy?
Cameron Diaz sort of had that niche, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like kind of a zany, like
She
there's
did
a
a
lot
lot-
of standard actresses that are
Yeah,
always
a lot of
have
she
their
did a
own
lot of
thing.
physical
Yeah,
comedy.
yeah,
she was in Something About Mary. So yeah,
What's your classic? Because I mean, I guess romantic comedies come from like screwball comedies
Yeah.
of the 50s or
Yeah.
40s, whatever. And to me, she has that kind of like physical
Yeah.
comedy thing.
and she did it really well.
Yeah,
I have to
haven't
say.
seen her. I guess she's too old now. We don't ever see her in anything.
She's, you know what? She had a baby and retired from
Good
making
for her.
movies. Yeah,
Good for her.
she was like, "I'm out, thanks."
Except for being Fiona.
Except for being Fiona.
It's very important in the culture.
Oh, is
that
this
she's-
kid? So is this
Shrek.
the kid's one?
She's Shrek's
Okay.
wife.
I haven't seen Shrek. Not a romantic comedy.
Shrek actually is a romantic comedy.
It is a romantic
and
comedy.
it's actually
It is.
fine art.
And it's fantastic. And how dare you, Sarah?
And how did
Oh my! We are, as Tammy said, we're finding a lot of things
And we are
today.
angry.
And there's more anger than we anticipated.
Can animated movies be? I mean, because honestly, Shrek's is a rom-com.
Shrek is a rom-com, and Shrek, I think, does rom-com better than a lot of non-animated rom-coms.
I mean, really? I mean,
I mean-
like when you look at everything, the romance is the driving thing.
Yeah.
And it is hysterical. And
It is so
I mean,
And there's
especially-
several romances. Donkey finds love, and Shrek finds love, and
like when you
Yeah.
compare it to romance novels, Shrek is way more like a romance novel
Yeah.
than a lot of actual rom-coms. So, I mean, that's really, we got here in a weird way.
Yeah,
but
we're coming up with Shrek.
we're coming up with Shrek as the pinnacle
the most romantic movie
of
I've ever
romantic. Hey, watch it. I'm telling you, you're gonna be like, oh.
it is so. I'm telling you. And again, it even has the dreamy layer. Because I mean, what woman wouldn't want to be told you're perfect just as you are to me?
Yes. I mean, it's.
Sarah's like, okay, you guys are going too far.
Well, hey,
Yep.
maybe I will put that on my list.
You should
Mike
put that on
Myers,
yours.
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, it's
My
great.
OTP now. Shrek and
It is
Fiona.
really good. Let's jump back real quick into favorites real quick. Your favorite male performance, your favorite female performance in a rom-com, and they don't have to be a movie you've mentioned or anything like that.
I think for me, female has to be. Look at me. You guys understand that I have a neuromuscular condition and cannot. Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan, like in the late 80s, early 90s, or I guess just throughout the 90s, she was the quirkiest, cutest
Yes.
rom-com heroine out there.
She was great.
Like, she was so perfect. And
Yeah.
I think I've watched all of hers. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't matter to me who they paired her with or anything. She was always absolutely adorable and lovely.
I enjoyed Meg Ryan to an insane amount. She was on my soap opera that I watched when I was a child, Betsy Andropoulos, and she's just great. She does, like you said, she does that quirky thing so well. You know?
She's super relatable. Like, you want to kind of think that, oh, I'm kind of awkward and weird. I'm Meg Ryan-ish. I love Sandra Bullock, but I know I'm not Sandra Bullock.
I
But
do
I'm
enjoy
like,
Sandra Bullock, too.
maybe I'm
a
Meg
Meg.
Ryan-ish.
Yeah, and she's pretty without being making that you didn't put you off.
Yeah.
Right.
You still feel like you can
Like,
find
you're
yourself.
pretty too.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can
Like-
find yourself in the same situation.
You
she's
can
in.
run into a Meg Ryan pretty at Walmart.
Yeah.
You cannot run into a Sandra Bullock pretty at Walmart. Everybody would like be stopping in the aisle and being like,
Yeah, yeah. I gotcha.
yeah.
Male performance.
I don't know. Because I like a Tom Hanks or something like that, but as a person who's asexual and therefore, like I don't know. To me, I think that's a little harder.
Okay.
Because I
see what you're
don't
saying.
feel that kind of attraction towards people.
Isn't it weird though? Because I am straight, but I could think about the women. Like I could name
Yeah.
you a ginormous list of
Yes.
women that I find very appealing. But it is harder with men, even
It
though
is.
I am a straight person and like men.
Yeah, like I feel like I gravitate towards Tom Hanks because it's the same situation with
Yeah.
me. I can see myself in him. He's quirky, he's
He
weird.
is.
He is not actually I don't think, a stereotypically attractive man. And so, you
I
could
was
run
There's
into
no
a Tom
Channing Tatum or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, you can run into a Tom Hanks at Walmart again. And so
But he does rom-coms great.
he does rom-coms great because
He's got that sincerity just
that's
down.
Yes, you feel
Yeah,
like he
that's
feels
a great
it.
word.
Yeah.
That's a really
Yeah.
good word.
You're like, did he and Meg Ryan run off together after this movie? You would like, you
Yeah.
know, just the way
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
You'd be like, if you're Rita Wilson, you might be a little salty about
Yeah.
Meg Ryan.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah, they had real chemistry.
yeah.
They did. What about you, Sarah?
Well, I love Julia Roberts. I think
enjoy
she
Julia
just
Roberts.
has a good face. Like, there's
She
something
does.
like compelling about her that you can't stop looking away from her. Another one that I like, as far as just a specific performance rather than the actress. So I love Bull Durham. To me, that movie is like sexy. That
I've never seen Bull Durham either.
and Susan Sarandon is.
But I do enjoy Susan
Yeah,
Sarandon.
you would like her in that. Like,
And Kevin Costner, right?
yeah, and Kevin Costner, who I usually don't like because he's so wooden, but he's
Yes,
good.
he is.
I don't know. It almost like so for a man. I feel like Hugh Grant needs to get mentioned at some
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's done a lot of really good, including Notting Hill with Julia Roberts.
Yeah, there's
And-
something about him that just seems uncomfortable in a good way. Like
He's
he
just a little
needs
awkward.
A good woman too. You know what I'm saying?
And you watch it and you think, I could be that
I could
woman.
be
who-
that woman.
And the accent helps with Hugh Grant, too.
Yes.
Like, that
always-
bumbling British man
Yeah.
is a good trope.
I always like Matthew McConaughey too. 'Cause
Oh, that
he
accent.
has
That
like just a
southern-
memorable
Yeah.
accent.
Josh Lucas and
Yeah, you're
I
right.
was just about to mention
with
him.
with
Sweet
Reese with
Home
Oh
Alabama.
my
Sweet Home
god.
Alabama.
Woo!
That was a
Yeah.
good
They have
one.
a baby in a
Yeah.
bar. Actually, rom and actually calm.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely
Yeah,
a
it was
rom-com.
Very funny. And that was he was my favorite male performance. I love Josh Lucas. I love that accent.
That's a good one.
I love that character and how in Sweet Home Alabama he lets her go because he realizes, she wants more than what I can give her at this moment. And then he set about to make himself that man. Like,
Hot.
and it's just like you perfect, Josh. It's so perfect. I enjoy him a lot. Also Matthew McConaughey, a
Yeah.
lot of great movies he's made. And I'm gonna say Taye Diggs.
Ooh.
Taye Diggs has made
one.
several really good, and he's not always the best character in
Was
them.
he the one in How Stella Got Her Groove Back?
In what?
How Stella Got Her Groove Back? That's a good one.
Yes, he was in
Okay.
How Stella Got Her Groove Back,
That's a good
Brown
rom-com.
Sugar, The Best Man, which is a fantastic movie. You have not seen it, you should see it. It's a great movie. And he does rom-com very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
He's not always the best character, but he always gets it right at the end. Another person, my female performance, first of all, like you said about Julia Roberts, Reese Witherspoon has to be brought up.
Yeah.
Yes.
She does quirky really well, and she's not symmetrically perfect beauty. Something about her chin, but she's just she's so cute, and she makes really, really great movies. She does comedy well. She even does a little physical comedy. And I love the Legally Blonde movies. I loved her in Sweet Home Alabama. She had one recently where she played a divorced, Home Alone, where she played a divorced mom who took in these 3 young filmmakers and has an affair with one of them, and he's in his 20s and hot. And
not that Home Alone.
Yeah, not that one. I think it was called Home Alone. I had to look that up. I think that's what it was called. Maybe it was
I'm
Home
like
Again.
Kevin McAllister.
But she's just great. She just does a lot of things well. My favorite female performance, though, is Sanaa Lathan in Something New, which is a later. It came out in the 2000s, somewhere late 2000s. She was in Love and Basketball as well, which that's not a rom-com because her real love was basketball, and I kind of wanted her to dump Omar Epps' character. I wanted her to dump Quincy. So I can't make that. It was more of a dramedy, actually, than it was even a rom-com.
Dramedy is a good one.
Yeah.
God, I love dramedies.
I love me some dramedies as well. But it's Something New. Sanaa plays this really tightly wound finance manager, and she's trying to prove herself at her firm and get partnership. And she hires Simon Baker, who is like right in the middle of starting off, and he's like just super gorgeous. And to do her landscaping in her backyard of the house she just bought. And he kind of flips all of her tightly woundness around. She kind of learns more about herself. And at the end, she makes the right choice and she goes after this man. But watching her growth from how closed off she was to how open she became, she does it really, really well. And she's been in a lot of great movies. She's in The Best Man. She's in Brown Sugar. So she's done a lot of great rom-coms. And the reason I want to bring up both Sanaa and Trey is I feel like Black rom-coms with African-American leads, they're always left out of the best of lists. And there's some that are just fantastic. I looked up several best of lists for research for this talk, and none of them had a single movie led by African American or Hispanic woman or male or anyone who wasn't white. Unless it was Jennifer Lopez. Yeah.
Have you seen? So one of my favorites is Last Holiday with Queen
Latifah.
I love that movie.
Yes, it's a great movie.
I was literally just sitting here. What was that Queen Latifah one?
Cool J, that was a good movie.
Ooh, LL Cool J did a lot of rom-com, and
he's good.
And he's good at it. He does Sincere really well, I think.
And he does Smoldering very well.
He does Smoldering very well.
But a little goofy. A good Smolder. Not a cheesy Smolder.
He's a lot of the some of those veer more toward comedy than rom, but they're still I still really enjoy them. I just really I wish we could. I think. Do you think rom-coms are kind of declining a bit? Are they not doing rom-coms the way they were? We just went to see one a couple weeks ago.
It was so good.
It was really good. The Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum.
We
really
laughed out loud multiple times, and if you were in the theater with the 3 of us, I am sorry.
I'm so sorry for you.
It was legitimately calm.
It was hysterical.
Yeah. It actually reminded me of Tropic Thunder, but with some rom, because it was like that kind of funny.
Yeah, it was really funny. It was really, really good.
It was really good, and it was very much a rom-com. And I love that it was very self-aware of the romance genre, both as a film and as books. I mean, there's a lot that can be said about that.
And it was
movie.
respectful.
It was respectful of both. It knew the tropes, and it respected the tropes, and it
didn't mock them.
No, and it did not mock those who love romance movies, those who love romance books. It respected them. I mean, actually, Channing Tatum gives a fairly impassioned speech about respecting those who find joy in that. And we highly recommend.
Rom-com character.
I
think.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like just a little dumb but good natured. Like the sincerity. I really like that.
And that leads. I think I have found my male that I really. Jack Black.
Oh, yes.
Jack Black is great in a
Kristen,
rom-com.
Yes, open your eyes.
I will say,
so
okay. I will say The Holiday is one of my all-time
adorable.
favorite movies. I watch it like 5 times a year. And he was great in it. And I hate Jude Law, and he was good in it. Cameron Diaz, Kate Winslet. The Holiday is a great movie.
That was a fun movie.
Jack Black was really good in it. I will give you that.
And
Jack
it's almost
Black.
like Jack Black is the more appealing.
Yes.
compared to Jude Law.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that sincerity, that quirkiness. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to throw up a picture of Jack Black and go, well, that's a sexy man, but
Some will.
But you watch the,
I will.
these movies and how he comes across in them, and you're like, this is somebody I would like to spend the rest of my life,
Yeah.
like having him support me and entertain me, and School of Rock and whatever.
Yeah.
I think he's great.
So we need sincerity in
Sincerity,
our mail.
Yeah,
I
for
think that's what we're
sure.
coming across here. Is it's not necessarily the physical attractiveness of a male lead, because I mean I've seen some male leads in romances that they're actually an attractive person, but then they come across pretty wooden and not.
And they do the movie a disservice.
Yes.
Yeah, you kind of don't fall in it. You honestly, if I'm gonna watch a rom-com, if I'm gonna enjoy a rom-com, I need to think by the end of the movie, I want to marry that man.
Yeah.
Right. Not necessarily that actor. I want to marry that character.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
aspirational
Yes.
a little bit. It should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. And I think romance books are that way too.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
the male characters are typically very aspirational. They're not
Yeah.
like the guy you're going to, again, find at Walmart. I have to run to Walmart after you guys tell.
Poor Walmart. They're a great man hanging out at Walmart.
Is 50 Shades of Grey a rom-com?
50 Shades of Grey is a nightmare. That's what that is.
I'm pretty sure that's a horror movie. And
I would not say rom-com for that. No.
It's like The Billionaire.
I mean,
trope
I
is a
laughed,
big-
but it
right.
wasn't because
Not
they
in a
wanted
good
me
way.
to.
Okay, I got you.
I think it's more of not dramedy.
Just
A romance drama. I don't know if that's a thing.
I didn't watch it because I read the book and was done.
I
And
refuse to read
my
the book,
apologies to
but I did
those
watch
who
it.
actually enjoy it. I'm sorry, I did not. I really tried, but
I
did
didn't
not.
even try. And I just watched the movie to laugh at it,
Good
and I
soundtrack,
did.
though.
Oh man, that weekend song, woo, loved it.
Yes.
Yes. And music adds a lot to
Oh.
movies and rom-coms in particular. I mean, some of the biggest hits are those that play over that falling in love montage. And Roxette's biggest hit, It Must Have Been Love from Pretty Woman. The theme song from the Titanic is one of Celine Dion's greatest hits. So we love our music that plays over like the falling in love montage in a rom-com.
There's a lot of great like 90s R&B on
Oh
movie
my gosh,
soundtracks.
yes. Yes.
It was a whole thing if you weren't there.
So
Yes.
super nerdy of me. I once wrote this really great paper on how music influences like film and all sorts of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, like soundtracks and movies and stuff. And I think that was especially prominent in the late 90s.
Yeah, it was.
Do
a
you
thing.
remember there was a point where they would show a trailer, and then at like the last screen after the trailer was a list of who all was on the soundtrack.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
I mean, that
big
was a
thing.
big thing there for a
Soundtracks
little
were
while.
huge. They were the
They
thing.
were.
And I mean, we could probably do a whole thing on music and romance. But yeah, those songs that play over it and that really,
Yep.
those help that connection. That's a thing movies can do that books cannot, is give you this multi-sensory
Yeah.
kind of, you're hearing the song, you're seeing the sights, and it kind of helps you make that connection quicker.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take you, I don't care how fast you read a book, you're not reading a book in 90 to 120 minutes.
Right.
So
Right.
you've got to connect with these people and believe it in 90 to 120 minutes. And music helps
And
you
music,
get there.
You're correct. Yeah. And I think the Nutty Professor actually, I think, really jump started that era where you had soundtracks and you had songs that weren't even in the movie.
They were inspired by,
but they
or
were
whatever.
inspired by the movie, and they were still like the whole soundtrack was like all top 10 hits, like just great music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love me some music.
I do too. All right, this has been a really
This is really fun. I feel like I have so much more to say.
Me too. But we need to kind of wind down a little bit. I have a list here if we want to do that, but do you have any book suggestions that are rom-commy, that if you're looking for rom-com in the form of a book, try these?
I think most of the modern novels that I read are kind of rom-comish because I kind of gravitate towards that. And so like Sally Thorne and Chloe Leese and obviously Penny Reed, because hey, let's not make it through here without me mentioning Penny Reed. Those are all I think would be considered rom-com writers.
Okay.
And those are people that I've recommended here over and over again, because really most of the modern stuff, contemporary romances that I read have an element of rom-comish because otherwise they're angsty.
Yeah. And a little of that goes a long way.
Yeah. So your contemporaries are either rom-com or angst, really, is where or I guess there's also erotica.
Right.
Basically, you've got those contemporaries divided into those three. So I do tend to just go towards the rom-com most of the time when I'm picking out something to read. I'm finishing up You Had Me at Hola.
Oh, I
right
love
now.
that. Yeah.
And that would be a rom-com.
Very much a rom-com.
I mean, there's some hijinks and, that sort of thing. And so I do recommend that one. That's a fun book. I like it.
Something I'm recommending, and it's not a romance, technically. No. Well, it's not classified as a romance. I'll put it that way. The Rosie Project by Grain Simison.
Oh, I've been meaning to read that one. Yes.
It is so funny. It's a gentleman he's on the autistic spectrum. He has Asperger's. I believe it's Asperger's, actually. And he's trying to figure out love, basically. He's trying to figure it out. And so he gets this woman named Rosie, and he tries to figure out all of the ways. He's just trying to figure out his life. And he gets himself into just these quirky situations that are exacerbated by the fact that they don't understand that he processes information differently. There's this scene where he's sitting taking pictures of children in a park because he's trying to understand why people would have children. And so parents call the cops. There's this dude taking a picture of our kid. And he's like, "Are you taking pictures of children?" He's like, "Well, yeah. How else am I going to learn about them?" And the cop's like, "Sir, you need to come with me." And it's so funny because you could just see him getting on the wrong track, and it just cracks you up. Something I read recently, two things I read recently: The Paid Bridesmaid by Sarah Wilson. The main character, is paid to be a bridesmaid of a woman who don't have a lot of female friends, or they have a lot of female friends that would be messy or wouldn't be helpful in a wedding situation. And she just comes along, helps. She's kind of like a secondary wedding planner. She helps the bride get through her day. But the only thing is she has to lie about how she knows the bride. And they have to make this whole backstory. And she meets a guy at one of these weddings that she's in and kind of starts falling for him. But he knows there's something up with her, and she can't reveal it and upset the bride. Anyway, it turns out great in the end. It's really cute. And The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams. This is more really rom-commy. She's a writer for a magazine. She's trying to get a full-time job. And another woman who's also trying to get a full-time job with the magazine. They pitched this story where they will do 2 fitness apps and report about them. She signs up for the fitness app, winds up being paired with the CEO of the company. The founder doesn't know it, as her coach, and starts writing about it and also falling for her coach, while also getting fit in a way that she feels happy with. She doesn't want to lose weight. She just wants to be healthier. And just the situations they find themselves in are funny. It's a funny book. There's some romance in it. It's came out earlier this year. I really enjoy it. It's something I'm going to be recommending frequently going forward. So
I have a recommendation that I don't know that you could. The thing is, it doesn't really fit into a genre box.
ooh, I'm intrigued.
So it's hysterical.
Okay.
It has a romance, but I wouldn't say the romance is like
The main theme.
the main theme. It's The House in the Cerulean Sea. If you guys have
I've heard of that one.
So it's very
TJ Clooney.
yeah. It's kind of oh, what's his name that wrote Good Omens with Neil Gaiman? Help me think of that writer's name. Come on, we can all do this together.
Hey, look, I'm looking it up.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Terry Pratchett?
Terry Pratchett. It has a very Terry Pratchett feel. It's supposed to be our modern times, but in our world, there are people with magic. It is very obvious that we're talking about other things, but there's people with magic. If you see something, you say something, because people with magic have to get registered and they're being watched.
Yes,
and the kids get, shipped off to these schools
An
if their
allegory.
parents. Yes.
An allegory.
It's very allegorical and very heavy-handed with the allegory. But he works for like the government and going and inspecting like the homes, these like group houses where kids are. And so he is sent to this house in the Cerulean Sea, and he has always wanted to see the ocean, and so he finally gets to see the ocean, and he gets there, and like the kids, guys, it's the best. First, one of them is the son of Satan. They call him Lucy because he's Lucifer. And one of them's a garden gnome. And, it's so weird. It is so weird. And that's, I think, what kept me going was I was like, I have no idea what is happening and what's happening next. But it's hysterical, like laugh out loud funny. And there is a romance, happily ever after. And I actually did it on audiobook, and my 9-year-old got addicted to it. She absolutely loved it. And I mean, this is obviously an adult, but it's nothing that she couldn't hear or comprehend.
I think it's a young adult, actually.
Is it?
I think it's YA.
I'm not sure. But my 9-year-old loved it on audio, and so it's on Hoopla.
Okay, cool. I've read TJ Clooney has a series, the Lightning Struck Heart series, that I love, and I won't, but I could go on about it forever. But I haven't been able to get that same feeling from some of his other work. I don't know what the deal is, but he is a very talented writer, and I have enjoyed him.
Yeah, it's, as I said, it is not going to fit in any box. I also read one called Legends and Lattes that doesn't fit into a box. The best way to describe it is a cozy fantasy. It's kind of weird. Like this orc decides to open a coffee shop. It also ends in a romance.
I like it.
Both of them are LGBTQ romances also. So if that's your bag, they both fit into that genre as well. So some weird stuff I've been reading lately.
Sarah, do you have any suggestions for us, and not mean to skip you?
Not a ton, because I don't really read a lot of the genre, but you know how enthusiastic I am about Evie Drake Starts Over.
Yeah.
And she has a new one coming out. Did you know this?
Yes, you've
Flying
mentioned that to
Solo.
me. What's the name of it?
I've mentioned it to you. That's embarrassing. But I am very
But you're
excited
excited
about it.
Because I was going to do something, another video. You're like, don't forget
Don't forget
this. I was like, oh yeah.
So it's going to be called Flying Solo.
Flying
So,
Solo. I'm excited about. I really love that book. I'm excited about.
Dude, you guys have given me
follow-up.
all kinds of things I want to go watch
try.
and read now.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to close now. We've been chatting a while, and we're going to go. But
We're going to go force Sarah to watch Shrek is what's going to happen.
that is, and you got mail. Yeah.
I'm on it.
But I want to thank all of you for watching. Please leave comments if you want more suggestions or what you'd like for us to, anything you'd like us to cover another time, and maybe if you want Sarah back, and we can kind of lure her back to come hang out with us. But thank you all for watching, and from me, Sarah and Tammy, have a good evening.